Good morning, everybody. It's 420 today, which can only mean one thing. CEO of Ignite Dispensary, Timothy Frey, is back to talk about all things cannabis and 420. We are, because I typically forget these things, we are going to get our sponsor video out first, because I feel like when you and I get going, we're going to have a really good conversation, and I don't want to stop. So we'll be back in 15 seconds after a word from Spooner Health.
In our patient satisfaction surveys and in conversations with patients, they appreciate the fact that staff got to know them. Staff really took their preferences into account, and they just feel grateful that they are being cared for as a person.
To learn more about our services, visit spoonerhealth.com.
All right, Tim, it's so good to see you. We did this last year on 420, of course, and it was a big hit. I learned a lot because, I'm pretty much uneducated on this stuff. I don't really have strong opinions either way, but I'm totally going to take strong opinions. Like anything you say, I'm just going to take the other side just because I think it'll be fun. It'll make for a better show. But for people, before we kind of get going, for people who don't know you, give us a little bio about you and why we're doing these shows seemingly now every year.
So I'm originally from Spooner Shell Lake area. I am a financial advisor. I manage our family farm down in Illinois. We also have multiple retail locations and manufacturing for cannabis and CBD products. I grew up in a small town. I got into this because I really like to help people, and cannabis is medicine in my world. And it feels like in my heart, just hearing back from certain people, whether it's people with discomfort or trauma or anything else, just how much my products have actually helped them. And, I strive to have good quality products no matter what. Quality and education is our main focus. So, my employees are very well trained. They can answer a lot of questions. This is a very, very confusing world. I've even helped teach some law enforcement seminars about this stuff because it's so confusing for them. In my world, I feel like, we should just leave the natural plant alone and kind of go after the harder stuff. But, maybe this will help convince some lawmakers and stuff to make some changes in the state.
Yeah, so here's a funny thing. So it's great that you just used two words. So last night, I went back and I watched the show from last year when you and I did this on 420, and I just had it on in the background when I was working on a story, and you had said on that show something about discomfort, and I remember asking like, discomfort, don't you mean like pain or something? You're like, well, I can't say pain, and I ended up writing this down. So I actually kind of created a little cheat sheet. So we have this bell, and we usually use it anytime that Dave Wilson, Shuck Police Chief, comments during a show. I don't know how that started. There's the bell. So I'm actually going to do something fun today. Not fun. I don't know. It is going to be fun for me. Is every time I hear, so I kind of created some words listening to what you had said last year about things that you had said when, well, I feel like he meant this, but I don't know if he can say this. So every time that I hear a word that I feel like you can only say that, I'm going to do a little bell. And there's already been two. You just used the word discomfort and trauma. So I think there's a reason that you can only say those, right? Is that a thing, if I recall from last year's show?
It kind of started with like the whole vapor industry thing. We started in more like e-cig vapor world to help people quit smoking. And I've helped thousands of people quit smoking. It wasn't until Juul decided to flood the market with these high nicotine stuff because they knew that they were going to get sued and lose money, but they've already regained a lot of cigarette market share. From just even paying out these lawsuits and stuff. So it started with that, where I'm not allowed to say to help people quit smoking or use it as a quit smoking cessation device.
Sure.
But that has now come on to the CBD cannabis world, where we are not allowed to make medical claims. So I'm not allowed to use I have to say discomfort.
Which, by the way, I wrote down what I think that means, but you can't say. Discomfort, I have chronic pain or just pain in general. Yep. I don't know can you even agree with that, or is that illegal? Like, who monitors that? I mean, if you say that, is it DEA or who's the one that puts this?
It's mostly like on labels and advertisements. This is a live show, so I have a little bit more lax on it, but I still want to just be careful. And CBD has helped so many people, or hemp and cannabinoids in general. That's the big thing about this hemp farm bill. And, with prohibition, but with the farm bill, it has allowed us to use like chromatography and actually deep dive into these individual cannabinoids. And we have learned so much, and we're still learning more and more and more, CBD is really good for discomfort. CBG is really good for restlessness.
Hold on.
Oh, okay.
There's another ding. So I want to go back to trauma. I actually wrote down as an example what I think that would be, and that is PTSD. Now, I don't know if that would fall under that, because trauma can mean a lot of things to a lot of different people. I was just trying to write down, like, what is like a real world example of something like that?
My veterans. I have a lot of veterans, whether they're Vietnam vets with night terrors or just people from the Gulf Wars or Iraq Wars that just have these trauma moments. And, the instant gratification and the instant relaxation that this gives people. I mean, with the world now and so divided, I wish everybody was on CBD because it would calm their asses down. Excuse my language.
Well, we have a comment here from Rose. Hemp gave me back my life. Love it. Thank you, Rose. Discomfort is reduced 90% my anxiety too. Oop, I think I had anxiety on my list too. So you had also said sleep and restfulness. I take that as insomnia, but it sounds like that's something you can't say. And anxiety. Can you say anxiety or can you not say anxiety? Okay, got it. Okay. So when I hear things like that, like, I'm a little worried. That's anxiety, because that's a thing. So for people who don't know, well, obviously everyone in Wisconsin knows that marijuana is still illegal, right?
Correct.
So what do you do, again, for the people who don't know? Big sign right behind you. And you advertise on DrydenWire, and we're proud of that. And I go to that place right behind you, too. I get all my cigars from Ignite Dispensary. I love it. It's the only place that has the humidor. I love it. Ignite Dispensary, since it's not like marijuana, right? You're not a marijuana dispensary. What is that?
So the best way to describe it, let me just actually grab something real fast.
Nice. I mean, whatever. Live show. That's okay. Don't prepare anything.
I have a flyer right in here. So here's the confusion. I don't know if people can see it, right?
Yep.
So you've got
hemp, marijuana. Got it.
So you've got cannabis, and then you've got two different varieties. You have marijuana that's high in what's called delta-9 THC, and then you have CBD that is high in CBD. So marijuana is high in delta-9 THC, which is the psychoactive chemical that's on the DEA's banned substance list. Okay?
That's the good stuff.
Well, that's the fun stuff.
Fun stuff. There we go.
We'll leave it at that. Okay.
All right.
So high in THC, low in CBD. Hemp, on the other hand, is high in CBD, low in THC. So people that want the medicinal properties of the cannabis plant without the psychoactive effect, hemp is the way to go in CBD.
Oh, is there any, what do you call psychological effect? Is there any of that in this? Or is it like, I don't know, like there used to be a long time ago, like non-alcoholic beer still had technically a little bit of alcohol, but it was like such a small amount. Is that kind of one of those things where it's, it doesn't have much, but a little.
So CBD, you can take it, 4 different ways. You can take it with inhalation, which will give you this instant mellowing feeling, which is really good for my trauma folks. Then there's the tincture regimen, which you want to think of like a vitamin. You take that kind of every day. Okay. Gummies are great. I never recommend people try to, build up the CBD in their system with edibles because your organs have to process them. So I always recommend going with a high milligram tincture to get people on that. And then if people still have issues, like chronic pain and stuff like that, you can supplement that with some, a little cannabinoids that have some psychoactive effect, like delta-8. Delta-8 is amazing for sleep and where's my key? Restfulness. So.
Wait, is that one of those?
Yep.
I feel like that's on my list. Oh yeah, restfulness. Again, that I wrote down like insomnia, but whatever. So to educate people, you have a lot of this, and I want to start with like the history of this.
Okay.
But even before that, I just had to ask, Ignite Dispensary, you're doing well, your business is doing well, you have multiple locations. If marijuana got legalized in all forms, or maybe just in one form, whichever you want, does that hurt your business or does that help your business? Because you kind of have a niche right now where you're able to do something with high quality things where nobody else can really get it. But maybe if marijuana is legalized, then everybody's got something.
My whole point is that I hope the lawmakers use some common sense approaches to this. like that's going to be my number one plea, is that there's other states that are banning these other cannabinoids. What my hope is that they just legalize and put out a license for cannabinoids, because Delta 9 is a very fun cannabinoid, and that's marijuana. But Delta 8, for people with like discomfort, discomfort and things like that, certain cannabinoids work so much better for certain ailments. THCV, as an example, works really great for focus and appetite suppression. CBN, there's other cannabinoids that really work better for these different types of things. So what I hope is that they issue licenses, get all of these products out of gas stations, because you can go to a BP gas station and find all the same stuff that I'm selling, and it's right there on the front counter in front of kids. That should not be. It should only be allowed in these age restricted stores like myself. And I mean, that's, yes, I own the store, but it shouldn't be allowed. There's liquor stores for a reason, that where kids can't go into it and be protected.
Yeah.
We use electronic ID verification. I mean, anytime we use electronic ID verification for every customer that comes in the store.
Real quick, we have a question here. Renee Hewitt. Oh, good morning, Renee. What do you have that can help bone knee discomfort? I love how we're all behind the discomfort.
Yeah. So unfortunately, CBD is a natural plant-based anti-inflammatory. Okay, anti-inflammatory being the key word there. Whether it's anti-disease or discomfort. Now, CBD is not going to help bone on bone, because that's bone on bone. Being anti-inflammatory, though, what it could do is it can help. Well, if she hits it from the inside with a tincture, she's going to have overall get helped overall. But if she hits it topically also, what it'll do is it'll loosen the tendons around, let's say, her knee or something like that, which will relax and take the pressure off. So it's not going to help like bone on bone, but it will help like loosen that area and help with the pain if she hits it, especially topically on something like that.
Yeah, and if she has any, discomfort or anxiety or because of that pain,
yeah,
there's other options. All right, so give us the history of this, of all of this, and I don't know where you want to start with that. I don't know how far back you want to go, because I kind of feel like just from a time. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, mostly like to, let's say, 1900. Okay, that's the best.
Wow, that's really far back.
123 years. So cannabis was actually one of the main ingredients in 80 to 90% of all medications prior to the Prohibition Marijuana Tax Act of 1937. Factories in World War I were actually told to divert and start making hemp rope for the Navy, hence where the term smoking rope came from. Really? The first Model T car actually ran on hemp oil, not fossil fuel oil. Even diesel lawnmowers today can run on hemp seed oil. Anything plastic can be made from hemp. Legos will be 100% hemp plastic by 2030. Hemp needs half of the water as cotton needs. 1 acre of hemp produces more oxygen than 25 acres of trees.
Wait, hold on. Say that. What was that one again?
Exactly. So 1 acre of hemp produces more oxygen than 25 acres of trees.
Wow, that's weird. I mean, I never would have thought.
I'll just wait. Trees mature in 50 to 100 years. Hemp does it in 100. So if hemp can absorb 4 times the carbon dioxide of a tree in the fraction of the time, we talk about all this climate change and expensive carbon capture and things like that. What they should do is just carpet seed Greenland. You know what I mean? Hemp can grow in a lot of places most other plants can't. It's very, very resilient, and it'll suck out that CO2 and pump in oxygen.
Hey, real quick before we go on, Deanna has a comment right here. Too many laced marijuana products not sold in some place like yours, and people are dying. Wisconsin needs to jump on the legalized bandwagon so there are safe products. So I just want to quickly touch on that because, first of all, for people who don't know, not that it necessarily matters, you and I have history. We've been friends for over 30 years. We went to high school together. My brother and my family, and I, knew your mom, and I was at your house many times when we were in high school and playing basketball and NBA Jam, and I love that stuff. But the one thing I do know about you is you are very above board. Everything that you do. And I'm not saying that just because. I'm saying it because anybody that knows you already knows this anyway. But that's interesting because I've literally had this conversation with you privately when I hear about these things that are happening and things that are getting laced into things. And I call and I'm like, is this stuff? I'm not saying you guys, but because I would never think that that'd be anything that you would do. And you had said, yeah. So that's another reason why you don't want to go anywhere. Like there's marijuana laced inside or, in those vape things. And you're like, yeah, no, not here. Explain that to people.
So number one, I spend thousands of dollars on independent third-party lab testing to make sure my products are quality. I don't care where you get your CBD from, but it better have a QR code on it that goes directly to a lab report, an actual certified lab report. We only use DEA certified labs to test all of our stuff, so we know that it is 100% accurate. Now, speaking on the lace stuff, okay, that is a huge deal. Me personally, number one, I want to control how I feel. So sativa in the streets, indica in the sheets. So sativa's during the daytime, indica's at nighttime. But what I'm getting at...
Hold on a second. You can't gloss over that and speed through that. Say that again.
All right.
What about the sheets and this? What was it?
So you have, whether it's marijuana or hemp, you have two different sub-varieties, which is sativa and indica. Sativa in the streets, indica in the sheets. So if anybody has ever tried it and like all of a sudden like, oh, that just makes me too paranoid, my heart racing, something like that, it's because they took a sativa and sat on the couch and did something. You're supposed to be on a sativa, you're supposed to be out in nature and doing things, okay? Indica is when you want to sit down on the couch, relax, watch a movie, and go to bed.
Got it. Okay.
Now, getting back to this.
Yes.
One county in California reported that 90% of illegal grow operations that they have shut down are run by Chinese nationals. So number one, where is that money going? And with all the precursor chemicals out there, who knows what they're putting into that? Another part of this is that marijuana comes from cartels. Anytime you see a bust out in California, they find 55-gallon drums of banned insecticides. So if you spray an insecticide on a plant and concentrate it down to a pure form, you're inhaling an insecticide. So, that's that whole vape scare that, we got demonized for a long time ago. People have been vaping nicotine for a decade. England even prescribes vapes for a quit smoking sensation to customers. So, it's been very demonized and very taken. But what that issue was is either drug dealers cutting their product, trying to make more money, which they always do on anything, and or it could have been an insecticide.
I think I've watched a documentary about that, and there was like these blue 55 barrels, and it's what's going on? That's not good.
I want to know and make sure that I have good, high quality products with we deep dive like on our raw chemicals. We don't just test the THC and stuff like that. We test for insecticides, heavy metals, the whole nine. It's a full panel test, and it costs about $1,500 to do, but that's just for like the raw material. Then we'll actually batch test our products for the limits as well.
All right, where are we on the history? What are we up to now?
The last thing on the history that I just kind of want to talk about is, that the Marijuana Tax Act of 1937 was created because hemp threatened so many industries: lumber, fossil fuel, pharmaceuticals. All the people that are a little bit older, no offense, but they were fed so much propaganda and have, and that, oh, it's devil's lettuce and things like that. You know what I mean?
Devil's lettuce. Which, by the way, that's like the greatest fear tactic in the world.
I run at a very high level. I'm not a stoner. So
devil's lettuce. Like, that's so great because it encapsulates two of my least favorite things. Satan and lettuce. Or any vegetables. That's fantastic.
There's two other laws that are really preventing the federal government from really just letting this go. Is that, the Racketeer Influence and Corruption Act, or the RICO Act.
Oh, right.
It did a lot of good to stop organized crime, but it's also been quite abused with civil forfeiture and money seizures. Okay.
Elaborate. What do you mean? Why would that be? So they arrest all people, they get all the stuff, and then they, sell it or whatever and make money. I mean, because that's usually how civil forfeiture.
It funds the law enforcement communities, and So they don't want to give up that money, but if they could just legalize the product and divert resources, they'd probably even have more money to focus on these hard drugs and getting them out of our communities.
Got it. Okay.
The other aspect is IRS Section 280E, no federal tax deductions other than cost of goods on any marijuana expenditure business. So any of these dispensaries out there, they can't deduct anything other than what that product costs them. They can't deduct their building. They can't deduct the display cases, things like that. So no wonder the government doesn't want to legalize it, because how much tax revenue are they going to lose? So again, follow the money.
All right. So always. There's a part of me that immediately thinks conspiracy theories, but then there's the other part that I've been doing this long enough that, yeah, you're 100% right, I think, on that one. That's interesting. Wait, so now that's a dispensary for marijuana, or are you talking even like Ignite Dispensary type thing?
No,
I mean, we don't want to get all into your tax stuff here, but I mean, are you able to do some?
Yes, because I'm in the hemp world.
Got it.
Yeah.
That's weird.
So
right? That you can't write that stuff on?
What I'm trying to do is do everything I possibly can to set myself up. So when it's not if, it's when.
It is when, yeah.
Go. I am 100% ready, have all my assets in force, taken all my deductions, so then I can just move right into it.
Where did this start for you? You have a passion for this. Where did that passion come from? Because this isn't just, I have a job. Like I used to run, this is dating myself, a Blockbuster store. I didn't love movies, just, store manager, and I ran that store. And then I ran like a Papa Murphy's. I mean, I do like pizza, but, I was passionate about doing my job, but not necessarily the product. Or a car dealership. I mean, cars are cool, I guess, but I don't really care. It was just, that's what my job was. This is more than just a job for you. It's a passion for you. Where did this start?
I started with the whole vaping and helping people quit smoking. It's the only thing that helped me quit smoking is the vapable things. So I tried hypnosis, everything. But the passion has really, really grown throughout the years just because the amount of people that I'm able to help. Like being able to buy hemp from farmers to help them out. Being able, my veterans. I mean, 2 of my managers are veterans, and they just talk about how much cannabis has helped them get off of the pharmaceuticals. It is amazing. So it has really, really grown. And then as we go, one thing that you might not, you probably know, but most people don't. My father was in the Navy in Vietnam, ran lots of things. He had major depression, and I will say PTSD. I'm not going to even say trauma.
He had that as just a matter of factly. I mean, that's not wrong for you to say. I mean, he literally had that.
Literally had that. Yep. And, if I think he would have had more access to cannabis rather than pharmaceuticals, he might still be around today, because he ended up committing suicide when I was 12 years old, which was very traumatizing and everything else. So part of my passion stems from that to help this. I mean, let me give you one other example. I had a veteran friend of mine call me, and he was just like, Tim, my wife is about to divorce me. I'm on opioid pain medications that I've been prescribed for all my chronic pain through the VA. And I'm drinking and everything else, and I'm spiraling downhill, and my wife is about to divorce me. I need to flip the switch and try something different. So we have gotten him on an entirely cannabis regimen with CBD, other cannabinoids that I can sell him in my store here, but he also has to cross over to Michigan to buy certain products. And what drives me crazy is that as soon as he crosses back over that border, he is now a criminal in the eyes of Wisconsin lawmakers. That is not okay.
So I've talked about this. I'm just going to...
Yeah.
I don't understand that part, right? So you can buy it there, but bring it here. So I got this different vehicle a few months ago, and on our Positive Tuesday Benefits show, we brought up a few times that it's just weird because I bought it. It was only a year old. I bought it from a dealership in Rice Lake, and it had like the windows were tinted like I think maybe too much. And I remember asking, so that's weird. Like, it's legal to sell it, but the second I drive it off the lot, I could get pulled over and get a ticket for it. That seems odd. So either we got to loosen up the laws when you buy one, or, don't sell it if it's illegal. It kind of reminds me of that a little bit. So it's you can legally do this and legally, but the second you come here, now you're a criminal. Well, if you're caught with it.
Let's save this conversation to the very end, because I have a plea to the lawmakers that I would like to really talk about. But that's just a prime example that, that I have an issue with.
Well, and I know there's a lot of your passion and your feelings, and we could certainly talk more about that. But I wanted to circle back to what you had said at the beginning, that you send stuff to DEA labs, something. Because again, going to just who you are as a person, you want to have, the best of the best. And you remind me a lot of my brother that way. Everything has to be like the highest quality of anything and everything. Like he's one of those guys that can't sleep on a bed unless it's got 8,000 count sheet something, whatever that is. And I didn't even know what that was until he told me. So how do you do you grow your own kind of a thing? How do you manage quality? How does this work?
All right. So I actually can help farmers with seeds. We have our own little small grow operation here in Spooner. The lights aren't on, so I can't show you. We have a USDA certified extraction facility up in North Dakota. We have and let me get this right here. Let me read this because this is confusing for me too. But me and my partners, we have in Minneapolis, we have 2 ISO 6 clean rooms that are pharmaceutical grade, USDA certified organic, ISO 9001 clean rooms with a biochemist on staff.
Well, I mean, you have to have that, so.
Yeah, right.
I don't know what any of that means.
Me and my partners, my wife is the owner of that company, so we manufacture 3 of our own product lines, and also distribute third-party products to other stores. So, we do lots and lots of testing in regards in all that raw material and stuff like that I was discussing. Also, though, before any product comes into my store, I verify the lab report. Trust me, there's a lot of products out there that these non-reputable shops that sell that basically this stuff comes from China. So I'll just hit that real quick.
Yeah.
China uses hemp as a cover crop, and if the hemp can absorb 4 times the carbon dioxide of a tree and all that pollution over there, think of all that pollution being sucked in by the plant, concentrated down to a pure form, and now you're putting it into your body. You're probably putting disease into your body and not helping it. So making sure that we know where this stuff comes from and making sure that there's no heavy metals and testing and, are legal, obviously. I'm not risking my family or my future dispensary license to sell anything that is not legal. I will not do that. I'm not risking my future, my son's future. I'm not going to do that. So,
I love this, Renee. I'm an oldie that believes we should be able to grow 3 plants for personal use. If caught selling, then slap us for being caught and stupid. I'm not about it. Just a gardener that enjoys growing. I love it, Renee. That is so awesome.
Yeah. I'm all about freedom as long as it doesn't hurt other people. So
100%. I have more libertarian in me than anything else, and it doesn't mean I'm a libertarian because there's some things no. But yeah, it's if there was a way that we can kind of know that, as long as it doesn't affect kids or anyone else, then I don't care. Do what you want.
Exactly.
I mean, we can have 7 steak dinner or steak for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and you could die of a heart attack at age 40. Fine, that's your right. Go ahead. I don't care.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm all for people being able to grow their own. There's a lot. It's not just you put a seed in the ground, though. I mean, it is very, very good. So, I mean, even people that grow their own, they're going to want to try other varieties. They're going to want to try a higher grade, like indoor type variety. We spend a lot of money on research and development for our strains and things like that. So I'm all for the people being able to grow their own. And because there's going to be people that can't or aren't good at it, and they're still going to be able to come to my store and be able to get.
Yeah, I mean, I like to have a beer, but I'm not going to make my own. I know a lot of people that do that. You can buy all these things and these kits, and you can make your own. Or somebody else already has done this, and I could just go buy it.
Yeah,
little easier for me.
Right.
All right, so what else do you want to, because you had mentioned lawmakers plea. I don't know. I want to get into that stuff because that now you're up my alley. I love that stuff. But is there anything else that we've talked about that we haven't had a chance to talk about that you wanted to make sure that we did before we start getting into the, hey cops, hey lawmakers, hey everyone pay attention, here's what we need to do?
Well, I'll start off with just one personal thing, and then we can kind of dive into some of these arguments, okay? And then my plea. So me personally, I love socialize and drinking and things like that. As I have gotten older, it has been detrimental to my health. I personally struggle with alcohol, and it has landed me in the hospital a few times and caused issues with my family and relationships. And, now I haven't drank for a long time. I use a little bit of cannabis at night just to take the edge off, and I'm a better man, husband, and father for it. So
Well, first of all, wow, thank you for. Is it difficult for you to talk about those things, or is it? I think it's important, so I have to. Because I mean, that's big, man. I mean, that's huge. That's very. You're putting yourself in a very vulnerable place by saying some of the struggles that you've had.
About my dad and his struggles with alcohol and pharmaceuticals and things like that. I mean, it was easy when I was younger. I could handle that. But as you get older,
kind of find out.
Exactly.
Our bodies don't like it as much, nor do our brains. We had something here. Rose, cannabis became illegal when its multifunctional use became known. I had a Facebook group teaching the history of it, and they removed 80% of my files. That's awesome. I mean, it's terrible, but that's awesome. Yeah. Ow, my goodness. I love it.
So let's talk about this. The argument that marijuana is a gateway drug. First off, well, sorry. You know what? Let me talk about one last thing on my thing. I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. Go ahead.
With alcohol, everywhere you go, there's ads for alcohol. So I don't understand why a natural plant that has been around for thousands of years, okay, marijuana or cannabis is a natural plant that grows out of the ground, okay? So, God put this plant on earth for a reason. Genesis 1:29, like all plants, it was created for us by God. Even a nun that comes into my store for her neuropathy in her feet told me this, okay? So my question is why is alcohol allowed to be so glamorized and with all these health problems, but cannabis be demonized?
Fair question.
I'm sorry. I lost my notes here. Cannabis is the only thing out there that is not manufactured. Meth, fentanyl, heroin, cocaine, even alcohol has to be created by man, not God.
That's a good one. I'll give you that one.
Yep. So, all right. The argument that this is a gateway drug, I will agree to that to a point because nobody I've ever spoken to has started off with cannabis. They've started off with alcohol. Okay. I think the gateway is due to prohibition because basically, and here's a personal example, people have to go to drug dealers to get the help that they need. So, and if all of a sudden you're buying cannabis from a drug dealer, and I'll get into the capital portion of this in a second, but all of a sudden, I'm buying my cannabis and now that drug dealer has enough money because I feel prohibition actually provides the capital needed to these drug dealers to get into the hard stuff. They have an entire clientele list ready to go to push these other products on. Okay. And again, prohibition actually funds these drug dealers because they don't have the capital to get into these hard drugs right away. They start off with the smaller stuff. And then they bring in the capital that they need to bring in the bigger stuff and the harder stuff, the fentanyl, the heroin, things like that. So if we could divert resources from a natural plant and actually go after some of these harder things, I think it'll be better, all around. But we'll get into that. In 2021, drug overdose deaths topped 100,000 for the first time ever, with fentanyl being responsible for 67% of those.
I know, fentanyl scares the snot out of me, dude.
Right. Well, and the new zombie drug that's incorporated with it now.
And the Narcan doesn't even work on that. What?
Right. And people can get high with anything. That person on the East Coast in Pennsylvania crashed their car into a house because they were huffing stuff. You know what I mean? Like, people are going to figure out a way to do it. You know what I mean? So, yeah. Deaths attributed by alcohol rose 30% in the U.S. during the first year of COVID. There's a reason why they shut my store down during COVID, but let liquor stores stay open because because if they would have shut liquor stores down, all of the alcoholics would have started going into withdrawals and overloaded the hospital system even more.
All right. I don't know if you have any data on that, but that kind of makes sense. Just saying.
Yeah. I mean,
I don't know if that was are you saying that was the reason for it? Like, I don't know if that is the actual reason, but I think that could have likely happened if they did that. Well, because
you have an alcoholic that you remove alcohol from their system, they're going to start going into withdrawals. I can speak on that personally. Yeah. You have to fight those withdrawals for days, and sometimes your potassium levels and your levels inside of your system will drop, and all of a sudden, you're in the hospital.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. That's likely what would happen to a lot of people. I'm just saying I don't know if that would necessarily be the reason that they didn't close down. that stuff. But either way, that's a very good observation. I'd never thought about that.
Yeah. So, all right. Let's see.
Oh, here's notes.
I just wish that prohibition, it should be socially acceptable for a mom to say that I need a joint as much as it is that I need a glass of wine.
Yeah, that's always been interesting to me when it comes to like alcohol and wine. Beer, it's whatever. But now it's it's perfectly fine. Women, and you see these memes and there's like this gigantic glass. I only have one glass of wine a day. Ha ha. I'm like, yeah, but I don't know if that's good that we're necessarily normalizing that. I'm not banging on that at all. I'm just saying that does seem a little weird.
There's a whole hidden group of parents called Cannamoms that discuss the positives of taking the edge off with cannabis versus alcohol and how much better parents they are to their children because they're not hungover or drunk or whatever. Nobody ever like starts a fight on cannabis. You're just all about relaxation. Alcohol, you go to the bars, people are fighting. There's it's an agitator. It's not a relaxer. Yeah. So
that's funny. I love it.
There you go. So, all right.
When I was listening to last year's show, last night when we did this, that you had talked about that I wish legislators and this and that. I know that was the one thing I definitely wanted to talk to you about, and you've kind of already touched on it a few times. So it has been a year now. You know more now. Have you communicated with our area legislators on anything at all? Do you send them emails? Do you talk to them about things? Do you advocate for this? Or is it more of, no, I just want them to make it legal, but I don't do anything?
No, I try. I mean, it's really hard. They're busy. I mean, there's two aspects of it. There's law enforcement and there's the political side of things. I mean, I did an education seminar for the ATF, a drug county task force, and the local police station. And I'm actually in the process of trying to reach out to all the other sheriffs and all of my other store communities to try to do that same type of education because they have no idea like what they're doing. This is a complicated world. And it's no fault of their own. It's so complicated that, they need somebody like me to explain this to them. What's the good? What should they be looking for? This or that? Because people will try anything. You know what I mean? In this. So that's the lawmaker side the law enforcement side of it is that, I will never risk my store, my future on selling anything bad. And I'm all about education. So if anything that I can do to help them to get, to divert and get the bad stuff off of the streets, I'm all about that. And probably leave the veterans that are using cannabis for medicinal purposes alone. Okay. Now to get back to your one question, I've reached out to Romaine Quinn, Angie's Bank up in Superior. We've talked. I've given tours of my facility. I have sent them education seminars that talk a lot about this.
What feedback do you get from them? Is it like, hey, thanks, go away, buddy?
I'm sorry?
Is it like a, hey, thanks, but go away? Or is it they have probing questions?
All right. Lawmakers are very influenced by lobbyists. Okay.
What?
And right. Wisconsin has the biggest alcohol lobbying firm in the nation, the Tavern League. Okay. They are very, very scared for legalization. Okay, because they know they're going to lose a lot of money, and they are. Illinois last year raised more cannabis tax revenue than they did alcohol revenue. Okay. We literally gave Illinois $35 million in tax revenue that could have went to Wisconsin people, to roads, to law enforcement, to reduce property taxes. That's just Illinois alone. Plus you got Michigan and we're about to have Minnesota.
Right.
So, they just need to get over themselves, legalize this, regulate it, tax it, and move on and get these hard drugs out of our communities.
Yeah. And so Bree, so she just brought up schools, and I was just going to say, I'm glad you didn't bring up schools, because that's just one of those things. It's not that I don't want to fund schools, but it just seems like a weird thing. Like, pick anything else. Pick law enforcement. If you want to get law enforcement in the Badger State Sheriff's Association and the Chiefs Association, you want to get them on board. Maybe that would help if it's like, hey, we're going to give some of the money, the tax money, 20% goes to you guys for something. I don't know.
Right.
But it just seems weird when I hear, well, we could tax it and give it to the school. Like, it's just weird. Let's legalize marijuana so we can give back to the kids. It's just a bizarre thing to hear. And I'm sure it's great. And our schools do need as much money as, they possibly can get all the time.
Right.
It's just a weird thing.
Yeah,
Let's
but you
give it to
can
the
take that
kids.
revenue and do so much else with it. You can fix all these roads up here in northern Wisconsin, which we desperately need.
That would be nice.
We can reduce property taxes for people, or keep them the same, which would then entail give more money to the schools if it was reduced on the state level.
Brilliant.
It's a backdoor way
Love
to do that. And again, law enforcement. I mean, people that just want to relax and use this for medicinal purpose should not be criminalized.
Yeah, but that's nothing to do with law enforcement. Law enforcement, it's nothing to do with law enforcement. No. They have a job to do. It's not like they get a call.
I'm sorry, but, I pride myself. I donate to every canine fund in every city that I'm in. I support my local law enforcement. I am all for that. You know what I mean? Like, I want them to go after the hard stuff, though. Like, this is a natural plant that grows out of the ground. It should not be, and it's only because of that, the prohibition that it's been demonized.
Yeah, and I do hear that. And I'm glad you explained that a little bit more for anyone that was confused, because that's just it. Cops aren't like waking up or having their meetings, detectives on Monday morning going, we need to get them potheads. We got to get that meth or the marijuana off the street. They don't pick and choose. It's just, okay, if they're all right, somebody calls or pulls someone over and there's marijuana, well, it's illegal, so we have to do this. I mean, that's how this works. I think sometimes they get, and I'm wildly biased on this, to be very clear. I 100% hugely support law enforcement. But yeah, don't bang on them for that. They're just doing their jobs. Here's what you don't want. Cops picking and choosing what they enforce and what they don't. That's don't want that. No, we need lawmakers. Yeah, we need lawmakers to make some changes. So then cops don't have to.
I probably misspoke a little bit about
No, you didn't. I think you clarified that. I think you did.
So let's dive into some more stats here, because numbers speak volume. New Frontier data reports 69% of 18 to 24-year-olds prefer cannabis to alcohol. 69% of Wisconsinites favor legalization. Now listen to that one again, lawmakers, please. 69% of Wisconsinites favor legalization.
Did they break that down into recreational, or is that decriminalizing? Is that personal use, or is that medical only, or is it like all?
That's one thing that we never touched on. Number one, I'm all about freedom, but they're like, oh, let's do medical. Uh-huh. Half of the people will not qualify for those ailments. Look at the Minnesota medical program. It is a disaster. You couldn't even get smokable flower. It's really hard to get on the ailment list. And now it's controlled by MSOs, which are multi-state operators. So it's been given basically to these big, large corporations to manage. So, why are we even arguing about this? Medical, recreational, just freaking legalize it, make some laws and get done with it. Like, this is ridiculous now, especially when we're about to be surrounded by 3 states that are going to have it already. Just issue the license, get it out of these gas stations and out of, where kids can get to it, put it in age-restricted stores, put regulation on it to make sure that we're not ingesting bad stuff into our bodies, okay? And let's move on, medical is not the answer. It is not.
So we're going to, and you even mentioned that earlier, it's not if, it's when. Because at some point, and I think we've brought this up on other shows that we've done, that it will eventually get done as soon as, it doesn't have to be like Republicans, I'm sure there's Democrats that maybe are, whatever the breakdown is. I think it's probably more Republicans are, in the past, have been against it. But the thing is, as soon as they start losing votes and potentially not being able to get back in, and now all of a sudden it's, maybe we should. So do you think part of this is also, so you go and you talk to, or you send emails, you have legislators come into your building and tour, and you try to educate them. Do you think perhaps another way to do that is more of that grassroots, more of the, if you could get every single person in the 25th Senate District, the 73rd, the 75th Assembly District, if you get like just 10% of that voting population calling or blowing up their representative, it's, okay, here's the thing. I don't care what the state says, it's 69%, but my district, I'm not getting reelected. If I don't do something about this, guys.
And that's the hard part is it's the hard part because lawmakers are all about supporting farmers and supporting veterans.
Yeah.
Prohibition is doing the exact opposite. Farmers have taken it in the shorts again because of the hemp bills and the prohibition on this. And who takes it in the shorts all the time? The farmers do, every time. And then again, my veterans, have to become criminals to get the help that they need because they don't want to be on pharmaceuticals.
When do you think this is going to get done? When do you think? Is it in the next decade? Do you think for sure that?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's going to end up being a ballot initiative on one of these elections. And that's the only way it's going to pass. Because I'm sorry, but the Tavern League has so much control over the lobbying of these lawmakers. It is absolutely ridiculous. It's the only reason it's not legal here. I mean,
they have that much influence, you think?
Oh, yeah. I mean,
and
for
again,
all the lawmakers out there, they just keep voting for these ridiculous laws banning a natural plant that has been used for thousands of years and pocketing lobbying money from the Tavern League. The Tavern League just needs to get behind this industry and absorb us with them and do it all together because they can be part of it. I don't know why they're so against it.
I was just going to ask, maybe you brought that up earlier and I must have missed it. I know you had mentioned Tavern League, but why do you believe they are so against it? How does that? I'm assuming anything you're against means that you're going to take away money. I see you doing that now. But I don't understand. Like, so if marijuana is legal, I see. So then people would be less likely to go to bars and buy alcohol, right? So
however, and that's what they need to realize is look at Minnesota. I mean, Minnesota did that. The lawmakers passed that bill that they had no idea what they were signing, and it allowed 5 milligrams of THC. It still has to be hemp derived into food and beverage. So we actually, and you see this can right here or whatever, this is CBD sparkling water. We also now have 5 milligram THC waters that we sell in, I don't know, probably 50 to 100 bars and restaurants now in Minnesota. So you can go to a Super One grocery store and get our 5 milligram product. So again,
I see what you're saying.
Why are we even here? Why are we even talking about medical? It's stupid. Just figure out the regulation for it, licensing for it, and let's move forward.
I think the only reason that the medical comes up so often is because for a state like Wisconsin who has nothing that's legal, it's a stepping stone. If we can at least get this done, then okay, now that would lead to something. I'm assuming that's the main reason instead of just, all right, we're going to go from absolutely nothing to absolutely everything. Maybe that's, I'm not saying that is good. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying maybe that's why it's kind of getting people kind of used to it.
There's going to be some turmoil and there's going to be, a lot of issues if they do go it. But again, look at Minnesota's medical marijuana program. I mean, it is a disaster. I mean, I have so many friends on it that are in Minnesota that they talk about how expensive it is, how hard it was for them to get on the program. And again, it is now owned by multi-state organizations, these corporate companies.
Of course.
Not key. If they do medical, it is just going to put the money in hands of corporations and pharmaceutical companies because, okay, are they going to give me a medical license? I don't know. Do I have to hire a pharmacist to be on staff to be able to get my medicinal license when people are coming to my store for this stuff? What are those laws and rules?
Interesting. They could put like a whole bunch of requirements on like local shops where it would be impossible for a local shop to like a small town local shop to be able to have it because you have to have this and each one of those people are like $60,000 a year. So I have no idea. I'm just throwing numbers out. But yeah, there is a way that they could really make sure. Only the big businesses.
I mean, again, I'm about freedom. This is a natural plant. It's the only thing that does not have to be manufactured. That's it. It's a natural plant. It's just, I don't know. I'm basically so fed up at this point. Like I am just like furious with these lawmakers and everything else. They just need to pass common sense regulation, tax it, regulate it, put it in age-restricted stores, and let's move on and concentrate on all the other problems that this state, country, and people that are on these hard drugs. Let's get this stuff out of our communities and stop focusing on a natural plant that helps people medicinally.
Well, I think the problem there is you're using logic, and you don't want to do that when we're talking politics. You may want to stay away. Tim, it's always great to see you. Is there anything else that you want to make sure that you tell us about your locations. You're in Spooner and Hayward still, right? Where else are you?
So Yep. So we have stores in Spooner, Hayward, Superior, New Richmond, Manitowoc, Milwaukee, Bismarck, and possibly one more.
Bismarck. That's what North. It's one of the Dakotas.
Yeah, North Dakota. It's
Really?
a long story.
Okay.
It's a long story.
Okay.
But again, the reason that I don't have a store in Minnesota is because they are so bad with their regulation. I mean, it is going to be. I'm just waiting for this law to come by and see what in the world it's going to do over there, because they sure screwed the pooch on the last one.
Well,
Excuse my language. Sorry.
I could talk to you all day. Oh, this has been great. I love doing this every year. This is now our second annual. We'll be doing it again next year. Maybe we'll even, you know what we should do for fun? You should come on. I'll see if any of these politicians, when we have them on, because we always have, politicians coming on, we should have you on as well and just grill them. That would be a great show.
I would love to. I would love to go through and any statistics. Oh, somebody murdered somebody and had THC in their system. Well, that could have been from 30 days ago. And no offense, no one's ever going to murder somebody if they're smoking little cannabis. Sorry. You want to sit on your couch and relax.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. Yeah, we're totally doing that. So I'll see if any of them are going to be open to it.
They may
say not.
But talk to them. And again, open invitation for any law enforcement that would like some education for their departments or lawmakers. I would love to go down to Madison and actually speak in front of these lawmakers.
Oh, yeah, do a hearing down there. Yeah.
Love to. Would love an invitation to. But, you call, you send emails, you get signatures, you do all this. I just feel like I've been beating a dead horse for years on this.
Hey. Well, wait, when's the next election cycle? So when will this really come up again? Not this year. So, yeah. So, yeah, it'll be really interesting chat next year on 420, because that's right in the middle. That's right before the primaries.
Yeah.
Right? August primary. Yeah, oh, my goodness. So, yeah, we'll get you on with one of our...
Save some room for me, because there's a lot of primary people.
I have it. You betcha. We'll get you on this year with somebody else, too. Okay. Awesome. Well, thanks, everyone, for all your comments. We didn't get to some of these, and thanks for all everyone participating. And as always, of course, thank you, Timothy Frey, CEO of Ignite Dispensary, good friend of ours. Man, you killed it today. Thanks so much for coming on. We'll see you for sure in 1 year from now, but hopefully sooner.
Okay. That's great.
All right.
Thanks, man.
Thanks everyone. Everybody. Have a blessed day.